The Big Apple is New York, but it's hardly the same city it was when Jimmy Walker or Fiorello LaGuardia presided down at City Hall. Oh, it's still big, bigger than many states by most measures, and its problems are even bigger. They have improved since New York's last fiscal crisis in 1975, but now the city is looking again for help from Uncle Sam. The man who must deal with New York's money problems is a character who, if he weren't for real, might have been created by playwright Neil Simon. His name is Ed Koch, a liberal Democrat who ran for mayor on a pretty conservative, get tough platform. Since his election, one of his critics has called him Mayor Mouth. He doesn't like that.
You ask me a question, I give you a response. You provoke me in the sense of confrontation. I am not a punching bag. I punch back.
Part of New York's problem is image, and this state-sponsored ad tries to raise some enthusiasm for the city. But New York needs more than love. Senator William Proxmire, the city's harshest critic, loves New York but opposes federal aid.
Because I think it is a very bad example to bail New York out now. I think that the disciplines are very weak in the public sector against excessive spending and waste. And I think one of the disciplines is the specter of default and of bankruptcy. You lose that, you lose a lot. And I think that if we lose it with New York, then we're going to have Detroit and Philadelphia and Milwaukee and Chicago later on coming and say, guarantee our bonds.
New York City has 250,000 union workers, and they are well aware that their contracts are on Washington's mind. They have all agreed to begin bargaining months before their contracts are up. The leader of the largest coalition is Victor Gottbaum.
It's like an industry that's on the brink. And the workers know this, the labor leaders know it, and management knows it. 60,000 jobs have gone down the drain. 2.5 billion of our pension funds are now invested in the city, so that no one really has an advantage. The difficulty is a city in crisis, and we know that.
Why should anyone give a damn what happens to New York?
Well, I think it should be the pride of America. It's the premier city of the world, and we've all made an investment, not just money, but a spiritual investment in this city.
Do you think that'll sell in Peoria or Seattle or Denver?
Well, I know that there is a relationship which sometimes swings from love to hate, but I think love is coming to the fore.
This message is what New York heard in the 1975 crisis. The next year, President Ford was defeated by New York's votes for Carter. This year, the Carter administration is in favor of some support for New York, but now Congress is getting tough, waiting to look at those union contracts. It was a transit strike in 1966 that established the city's giveaway image. New Yorkers suffered for almost 2 weeks, and then the city gave in. It was felt that then Mayor John Lindsay at first provoked union leader Mike Quill, then gave up too much to him.
Can I give you the difference between John Lindsay and myself?
Please.
Well, you see, if you talk about John Lindsay, he probably gave more away to the labor unions than any mayor this town has ever had. And it, in my judgment, related to the fact that he dealt with them in a very personal way. I mean, it was, they dealt with him in a macho way. I mean, he said, I am the mayor, and Mike Quill said, we'll see about that, Mr. Lindsley. That's a classic story. Well, that's not my style. I'm someone who says to any labor union leader, and they've all been in this office, and I've been in their offices, I'm just an ordinary Joe, just like you.
Ed Koch got to stop this common man nonsense. He's there because 8 million New Yorkers, in their wisdom, voted him in as mayor.
It's just me.
They follow you everywhere?
Well, what can I do? Hi. Hi. Nice to say hello. Terrific kids. Hi. Hi. How am I doing? Thank you.
I think he's afflicted with the disease that many new officials have. I think Carter had it for a while and he's getting over it. I think Ed has it and he has to start getting over it. You come into a new important office, you've been successful as a candidate, you have this urge and almost a need to continue to be the candidate.
Do they have any smoked mozzarella?
I think over there they must have it.
Yeah, but I'll be able to get it here, right?
Any smoked mozzarella over there?
Smoked.
Smoked. The best.
Whatever you give everybody else, that's all I want.
And I think he also represents what I see as a kind of new type in the country.
Which is?
This sort of bachelor workaholic whose whole life is politics. I think Jerry Brown seems to be that way, and in a way Ralph Nader seems to be like this.
Jack Newfield, a Village Voice editor, supported Koch's opponent for mayor.
I think he is, in a way, arrogant and uptight about any criticism, which he personalizes and then enlarges in his mind. I think it is a personality problem.
The mayor's official residence is Gracie Mansion, an elegant 18th century building overlooking the East River. Koch spends just 4 nights a week here. At first, he didn't like it at all, claiming he rattled around in here by himself.
He may well be a very successful mayor because it is all he cares about in this world. And I think that is a plus. When if you can go to 8 political dinners every night and 4 planning board meetings, and then meet with your staff at 2 in the morning, it gives you a certain competitive advantage over your rivals who have to worry about taking the kids to Coney Island or staying home with the wife.
Hi.
Even though he has the city-owned mansion, Koch maintains a modest lifestyle, which includes shopping and casual walks around Greenwich Village.
Nice to say hello.
He keeps his old apartment here. 3 tiny but pleasant rooms. The New York Times ran editorials against his spending too much time here.
Initially, they didn't like it, and they said I should live at Gracie Mansion. Then they finally gave in, and they said, well, all right, let him think of it as Camp David. Okay, if that satisfies them. I'm paying for Camp David. I am paying the rent on that place.
As contrived as some of his statements seem, sometimes his obvious love for the city just bubbles over.
You know, just to tell you something, if you're interested, New York City has these water towers. Nobody's aware of them, but they're all over. You notice? There. That one over there, that's a water tower just concealed. But I happen to like it when the water towers are suddenly on you. You see them. I mean, it's extraordinary. There's a very nice water tower. What a great city. Very few of them like this. In fact, there's none.
My friend Alex Coburn says that most politicians are megalomaniacs, but Koch is a micromaniac in that he does pretty good on the big things like the fiscal negotiations and running the city, but it's the trivial things that somehow trigger whatever his hang-ups are.
Case in point, a meeting with a community group led by a local priest.
I said, Father, I would like to make a 2-minute statement before we begin. He said, we will have to caucus. Then with the 8 jurors and the pastor, they spend 5 minutes caucusing, and then he comes back and he says,
the panel have decided that they will grant you 1 minute. No? If you are unwilling to accept that, then we are unwilling to have you. You received a copy of the agenda on Friday. It was relayed to you through your press secretary, Ms. Pam Channon, on Thursday, and we are unwilling to accept your conditions.
Father, I can just tell you, I'm not here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koch. I'm sorry.
Are you sorry you walked out?
Not at all. I would do it again under similar situations.
Do you think it was a net minus for you politically?
No, but it wouldn't make any difference to me if it were a minus. There are some things you have to do, whether they are politically helpful or politically harmful, and one is always to maintain your own self-respect. For me, to submit to any audience that said that I could not address them for 2 minutes at the opening, when I had told them I'm prepared to stay for 2 hours or as long as they wanted to answer any of their questions, to stay under those circumstances, I'd have no respect for myself.
Koch even took the snowstorm personally. He, 8 million people can't get out of their house, and he says, God is testing me.
They would always ask him at the end, how am I doing? And one of them is a Republican district leader. She said, "I'm a Republican. I love you."
Not so strange. A Forum magazine survey claims most women consider Ed Koch appealing.
Oh, you know what? And she said, "And you really are a sex symbol."
The papers made much of it. One of Koch's campaign managers had been Bess Meyerson, a former Miss America. She was his constant companion through the campaign, which worked to offset the political disadvantages of Koch's bachelorhood. His opponent, Mario Cuomo, is a family man.
Why have you never gotten married?
Well,
Mark, that's asking kindness.
no, I understand that. I mean, if I had gotten married and I had been divorced, would you ask me why had I gotten divorced? That's a very personal matter. I don't preclude getting married. I think it's terrific if you have a happily married life. If I never am married, so be it. I would hope that that might not be the case, but I do not consider it to be a burden either way.
These kinds of questions in the campaign led inevitably to questions by your opponents raising the homosexual issue,
Yes.
one way or the other.
Oh, it was disgusting. And what was so marvelous was the reaction of people who voted. I think they were disgusted by it.
Yeah, there were sound trucks in Queens that said, "Vote for Cuomo, not the homo." There were sound trucks in the Bronx that said, "A vote for Cuomo was a vote for the mafia." That is politics in New York.
How important are ethnic loyalties in New York elections?
They are decisive.
I'm as Jewish as you can get in the sense of identification with my heritage. I love being Jewish. Just as, I don't know, you're probably a WASP.
I am a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Right.
Right?
I say that with affection. You know, right?
I understand.
Oh.
But it occurs to me, you know, there's a school of thought that's saying, listen, part of the reason New York City may have some difficulty in getting support is that so many people in Kansas and Texas and Colorado see it as the Jewish capital of the country.
Yeah, that's true. That is one of the perceptions of the city, and the facts are that the Jewish population is probably around 19% of the city of New York. There is undoubtedly anti-Semitism to some degree in the hearts of some people in this country. And, listen, if you were to ask me, are there Jews who don't like Christians? Of course there are. Are there Christians who don't like Jews, blacks, whites, whatever it is? I mean, it's the nature of our society that the bigot will always be there. But I think in reduced form. I think that overwhelmingly today, that people don't care about that anymore. They don't really care about that. And I honestly don't believe that the rest of the country will refuse aid to the city of New York because either its mayor is Jewish, which happens to be me, or because it has a large Jewish population. I just don't believe it.
Well, I think so far Mayor Koch has been a good mayor. I think he was a fine congressman, and I think he's done the right things. He's taken the right position. He's been a hard line on holding down expenditures. And I think that a lot of things he's criticized for his style, you know, the fact that he does his own laundry and that he didn't take a limousine to be inaugurated. But I think that style is important, as it was with respect to President Carter.
My relationship with the president is excellent. He's gone out of his way to refer to me as his good friend, and he called me here at City Hall when I came back from Washington not long ago to say that he, the president, was going to lead the fight to help New York City.
Do you have any higher ambitions? Like
No.
to be president yourself?
No,
Like to be a senator?
no. I have no desire, and that's not a political statement, that's an honest statement. I have no desire to ever run for any other position other than re-election to the mayoralty. The desk that we're here sitting next to, this is Mayor Fiorello H. LaGuardia's desk. And I hope that someday there'll be some item in this room that people will say, you know, that was Mayor Ed Koch's.
The next few months will tell the story of what happens to Ed Koch's image. The threat of a transit strike is behind him. But now city workers refuse to accept less than the transit workers got. How to come up with that much money and still convince Congress he's keeping a close eye on the budget is his dilemma. Ed Koch, to say the least, is a mayor with problems.
Ford Motor Company hates rust. To fight rust,